Town Board, we are live.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the April 11th work session of the East Hampton Town Board. Carol, would you please read the roll call?
Councilmember Barton.
Present.
Councilmember Lees.
Present.
Councilmember
Present.
Present. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This morning's meeting will begin with a public portion where any member of the public may address the board on any topic. We ask that you please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. We'll have agenda topics, which will include the Montauk Playhouse Community Center Foundation update, UR map modification for 59 Gardner's Lane, UR map modification for Springs Fireplace Road, proposed alley widening easement for South Essex and South Euclid Avenue, and a change of access to provide partial road abandonment in a UR map. That'll be followed by liaison reports, and we do have a few resolutions to do today. I have a sign-up sheet. And then once I work through the sign-up sheet, anybody who's not signed up or wishes to address the board, I'll take a show of hands. We'll also go to the phones to see if there are any callers. First on the sign-up sheet is Bill Crane. Morning, Bill.
I'm here to speak on Bill Crane, East Hampton Group for Wildlife, to speak again on turkeys. Some have said that the proposal you'll vote on is not an expansion of hunting because the DEC is opened up a new season, and to deny it would be a deprivation. But I want to say something about the DEC. It's constantly expanding the hunting seasons. It's recently added a fall antlerless season. It's lowered the age of hunting down to 12 years old. It expands hunting because it receives considerable funding by the excise taxes on the sale of hunting equipment and hunting licenses. People don't realize how pro-hunting the DEC is. I've been to their meetings. They're like hunters' conventions. The head of the wildlife division shows the photos of himself with a deer he's killed. I've been to Stony Brook, the main office. You go in there and there's a head of a deer in the chief's room. They say in their hunting and trapping guide, the recent guide, it says its goal is to recruit and retain the next generation of hunters and trappers. It tries to raise, quotes, public awareness on the benefits of hunting and trapping and maintaining these activities as an important part of New York culture. It's constantly expanding hunting. No matter how you cut it, we now have 2 turkey hunting seasons, one in the fall and a youth hunt in the spring. If this resolution goes through, it will be 3. 3 is more than 2. That's an expansion. If we keep going with the DEC, people say the DEC is a scientific body and so on. If we keep going with them, we're going to keep expanding hunting, and animals will lose their lives. I urge us to stop this expansion. Others have said we need to curb the turkey population for its own good. It's going to get out of control. The DEC has said it has no data on the turkey population. That came up in our Wildlife Management Advisory Committee meeting. I would ask we consider consider the golden rule and ask, would we want to be treated the way we're treating turkeys? If somebody said, hypothetically, that the human population is growing at a rate that's dangerous to the planet, hypothetically, it really is. That's supposed to be sarcasm. Let's kill some humans so we can, for the sake of the species and the planet, we'd be outraged. And I urge you to let the turkeys live. The turkeys, I think most people in town want them to live. The turkeys have no vote, no representative. They don't have a representative here. They don't have a representative. The animals have no representatives in the government. They have no spokespersons. They have no vote. The idea of giving animals a vote may sound ridiculous, but when Oren Lyons, a Native American elder, addressed to the United Nations in 1977, his first words were, I see this body is incomplete. I see no seat for the trees. I see no seat for the birds. I see no seat for the four-legged animals. It was not ridiculous to him or Native Americans. I want to thank everybody who's been trying in various ways to speak up for the defenseless animals. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Sherry Thompson.
Good morning.
Morning, Sherry.
I too am a member of the East Hampton Group from Wildlife, and I'm a colleague of Bill's, and I'm a resident of Amagansett. I have written to you twice, and again, I would like to ask you to keep East Hampton from participating in the DEC's new turkey hunting season. My reasons, I think, bear repeating. First, with the arrival of spring, the town's residents and visitors should, I believe, be able to walk in the woods without being startled and frightened by the sound of gunfire. Second, turkeys do no harm, and as the predators of ticks, they help to keep us safe. The esteemed medical writer Burton Ruichet, who lived on Stony Hill in Amagansett, maintained in the September 12, 1988 issue of the esteemed New Yorker magazine that Lyme disease took hold in this area when turkeys were hunted almost to extinction. They were subsequently reintroduced by, yes, the DEC. Third, 2 weeks ago, my husband and I saw a large flock of turkeys on Old Stone Highway. They were pecking, flapping their wings, and like us, enjoying being alive in their natural habitat on a beautiful Saturday morning. Watching them up close, we couldn't imagine how anyone would want to kill them or encourage young people to kill them for sport. And finally, hunting is a local tradition, but as we are seeing nowadays, many traditions have been and are being questioned and abandoned. Turkeys are among your constituents. I hope you will take their well-being into account and that you will say no to the DEC's new turkey hunting season. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Prudence Carebine.
Sometimes I feel like a turkey. I would like to thank you very, very much for finally acknowledging the East Hampton Town Farm Museum, Historic Farm Museum, excuse me. We have been in existence, as you know, since 2014. And I was told I'd be arrested on the first day, which all of you may laugh at now, but in the moment I didn't laugh because our fire extinguishers were out of date by the fire marshal. I did not put the fire extinguishers in the building. He did. I have not been arrested yet, but there's always tomorrow. I would like to thank you for acknowledging the East Hampton Town Farm Museum on the CPF property. I do appreciate and understand the value of CPF properties all over town. And I do appreciate so much the ability to focus on what we focus on the Farm Museum, which is the years 1880 through 1930, a time when the town of East Hampton was growing substantially and our cultures were changing, as you all know. And our cultures are changing again today. But I want to constantly be a voice for the three cultures that built this town 375 years ago. And that is the Bonnickers, who came late to the party, the Montaukets, and the Black population from Gardiner's Island, and the folks who came up from the South to pick potatoes. Agriculture is a significant part of the story of East Hampton and Long Island. I grew up as David knows, with my grandfather saying over and over again, the farmers feed the nation. Well, the farmers fed Long Island and the eastern seacoast all during World War I and into World War II. And they are an industry which is now gone by the wayside because of the value of the land. So we get that times change, but we are going to celebrate with the building of a barn, as you have acknowledged, with the whole population coming with hammers under Ray Harden, because I come out of the Habitat for Humanity school, and we're going to build a barn. And I hope that you all show up with your hammers, because this will be an event that will solidify the Bannock population from Freetown, which we celebrated last week, as some of you may know, at Calvary Baptist with Dr. Allison and her new material on Freetown. And we're going to celebrate with the building of the barn. So thank you very much for giving us the permission to get these vehicles undercover and to accept Stuart Vorpal's boat, which I hope, as it was mentioned in these papers, will not be something you'll ask us to remove. We're not supposed to be accepting boats and having them stored there, but Stuart Vorpal is an iconic man. Talk to Mary, she knows. And we hope that we will be able to keep that boat, which he made, on the property without any issues about that. So thank you very, very much for acknowledging the Farm Museum finally in the paperwork. And please come when we have a date ready to build the barn. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prudence. Brad Brooks. Morning, Brad.
Good morning. I'm here to bring up an idea that I brought to the board before. It's something I've also written in the local papers about, and something I brought to the ESC when I was a member. This idea is to take a carve out of the Community Preservation Fund, just as was done with the Septic Fund.
Sorry, Brad, could you just pull the microphone a little closer to yourself? Thank you.
This idea is to take a carve out of the Community Preservation Fund as it was done with the Septic Fund. I think at least 10 or 20%, as was done with the Septic Fund, should be segregated to create a fund to create incentives for locals to upgrade to solar or heat pumps. The town has made a lot of pledges and declarations over the years about reducing emissions, but nothing really has been done in the 8 or 9 years since this began. If the town could take this money from the CPF, you could help probably hundreds of houses every year upgrade to these new technologies that would help emissions. So I'm hoping that this is something taken seriously. I've been mentioning this for a couple of years now. You're about halfway through your 2030 pledge to reduce emissions by 100%, which, let's be frank, is not going to happen. I hope we can admit that. As I brought up several times when I was a member of the ESC, I don't think emissions have been reduced at all in this time period. This would be a concrete step the town could take and should take. So I hope we take this seriously.
Thank you, Brad. That concludes the sign-up sheet. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak? David Buddha?
Good morning, I'm Dave Buddha. I reside in the Springs. A couple of things. I see that on the agenda today you have a presentation from the Montauk Playhouse Foundation. So this gives me an opportunity to thank them and thank you for supporting the wonderful pickleball program there. It's very well organized, very well attended, and very much enjoyed by all the participants, including myself, on the weekends. On the topic of pickleball, having become a recent fanatic, Amagansett Youth Park and the other side on the other park on the other side, between the two of them have 4 tennis courts. As far as I recall, as far as I know, there are no pickleball lines on any of those 4 courts at the present time. The town, I understand, this spring will be taking care of resurfacing the Springs tennis courts, and that will include painting on the 3 tennis courts within the confines of the tennis courts pickleball lines. A pickleball court is smaller, can use the same nets successfully. So obviously, every time there is a tennis court, there is a opportunity for pickleball. I don't have to tell you, but we spent a little time in Florida in this winter, and whether it was in Florida or up here, you can't help but notice empty tennis courts and full pickleball courts. So keep that in mind. Now, I don't know, honestly, I didn't have a chance to check whether the Springs tennis courts are on land owned by the town, which I think is the case. I know that the youth center was built by the town on school property, but I do believe perhaps, and maybe David would know or someone else would know, the tennis courts, is that land that's owned by the town or by the school?
My understanding is the school owns that property.
Anyone differ? Okay, so if it is school property, then it's understandable that the schools would have a priority to use it. If that's not correct, then it really should be open to the public anytime that they're not in use by the school population. So I would like to know whether or not the existing tennis courts in the Amagansett can some of them be painted to be used as multi-use for pickleball as well as for tennis. Obviously, in the winter, traveling to Montauk makes sense for us, or going outdoor to the Y where we play as well. But in the summer, as many outdoor courts as you can make available would be appreciated. On a totally different topic, very quickly, since you're going to be focusing today a lot on UR maps and the old study plan, the impacts of implementing the impacts of the old filed map study plan. I have a question. I watched the UR road assignments that are given out by the town's consulting engineer and ratified by the town planning board. And I've noticed of late that there have been several modifications of previously given road assignments to eliminate the planned 50-foot diameter cul-de-sacs in some locations. I'm just wondering whether that is the result of a change in policy or practice that this town board has considered and directed the consulting engineer to do. I don't know why that would be. Most typically, the roads that come off of Gardner's Avenue, the numbered streets, which some people call the ladder, most of those short streets would have, if and when they are to be improved with UR map road assignments, they would have a 50-foot diameter cul-de-sac at the end for emergency vehicle turnaround. But of late, a couple of street assignments, those cul-de-sacs have been eliminated. I don't know if that's just a temporary measure or whether it reflects a change in policy. If it's a change in policy concerning UR map improvements, that policy should originate from this board and you should be aware of it. So I'm not sure what's going on, but I would like you to find out if you don't know. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. Anyone else in the audience would like to address the town board at this time? Jason, do we have any callers on the line?
Yes, we do. I'll unmute the first caller now.
Thank you.
Hello, caller ending 2708. You are on the air.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. My name is Zelda Penzel. I live in East Hampton. And as a member of the East Hampton Group for Wildlife, I would respectfully like to ask the East Hampton Town Board to vote no on the proposal to allow a new turkey hunting season in May. And I want to say it loud and clear, along with 760 residents, visitors, second homeowners, and others who have signed a petition in opposition to a turkey hunt in May, that we oppose the senseless slaughter of wildlife. Shamefully, supporters of this bloodshed allege that hunting is a family-friendly sport, but in no other team or individual competitions are opponents stalked from blinds or chased down to their deaths. Children who are taught to hunt are really being taught that it's okay to kill animals for fun. And in the process, Wild animal families are torn apart and orphaned young are left to starve. But animals aren't the only ones who suffer, as every year thousands of hunting injuries and even deaths occur across the United States. It is beyond disappointing to find that most members of this self-serving town board, who as hunters are ethically compromised here, but nevertheless continue to blindly support an outdated and entrenched system built on an ethic of domination and exploitation intended mainly to serve consumptive users, that is, hunters and trappers, and are dismissive of other values and voices. A system not based on sound science that has been responsible for the disappearance of countless species and which must inevitably be changed to prevent extinctions, promote democracy, and protect wildlife for the future. It's long past time to rethink wildlife management, and with the current rate of death by shootings being the #1 and primary cause of death among children, the last thing we should be doing is teaching children to be indifferent to the suffering and killing of innocent beings, which sadly some people think is a tradition worth preserving. We urge you to take your heads out of the sand, to face reality, and be the voice of positive change. Thank you.
Thank you, Zelda. Do we have any other callers on the line?
Yes, we do. Unmuting next caller. Hello, caller, ending 7379. You're on the air.
Unmuting next caller.
Hello,
caller, ending 7379. You're on the air.
I don't have a number. Is that possibly me?
Yeah, that's you. If you could mute your TV in the
Okay,
background,
good.
that'd be totally
Okay.
cool. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's, this is Ellen Crane. Let me see if I can, I'm listening to you. Let me see if I can get rid of that noise. Okay. This is Ellen Crane. Let me see if I can, I'm listening to you. There we go. Okay. Apologize. Thank you for taking my call. It's Ellen Crane, 41 Wood Road. I would like to echo the excellent remarks made by previous speakers who are asking you to not support the turkey hunt in May in any way. I want to focus on just a couple of points that hunters have made that I think you as the board should know are not realistic bases in which to grant them more hunting. Hunters say they have a right to hunt. They already have an opportunity to hunt turkeys at other times of the year, and we occasionally call the 2 days that we've given to youth to hunt turkeys as a second season. So hunters have plenty of opportunity. One hunter last week at the board meeting commented that the DEC wants people to hunt turkeys to prevent the overabundance, which will lead to their suffering and so on. But I'm sure you are aware, as most of us who are opposed to the turkey hunt are aware, that there are no scientific bases in any literature or any evidence that turkey population is overabundant and needs to be controlled by hunting. So those are two things that I wish you would think about. The other important point is that you often get a lot of hunters to come to meetings to talk about whatever they want to talk about, that they want to have hunting. And this resolution that you're considering is not in any way going to lessen their opportunities to hunt, which I think they're afraid of. But it's only going to allow people who want to use the woods for other activities to have the opportunity to do so. It seems to me, as I said last week to you, that for the last several years, you have always supported the hunters' opportunity to have more time and more land to hunt on. And you have never made any excuses to give the people who want to walk in the woods the opportunity to do that. What comes to mind immediately is 2 years ago when you authorized the hunt of antlerless deer, and there were over 700 petition signers who lived in East Hampton who were against that and, well, asked for one weekend day in each week during that month to have the woods free of hunting so they could enjoy it. And you said no. You have never supported people who would like to use the woods for other than hunting. And this is a time when you can do that without jeopardizing the hunters in any way. You're not taking anything away from them. So that I wish you would think hard about before the end of the session when you have the opportunity to vote no on this resolution. The other concern I have, which I mentioned last time, is that it's very disappointing on this issue, and I think others have raised other issues, but particularly in terms of the hunting, that there were 3 board members at a previous workshop who made comments suggesting they would vote no on the resolution to authorize a May hunt. And yet, when the board got back together, without any discussion or any sharing with the public of any reasoning for it, suddenly the proposal is to authorize the May hunt with Memorial Day weekend eliminated from hunting. I think that's shameful, and you should both think about the way you make decisions and also a need to really support people who want to use the woods for other activities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ellen. Do we have any other callers on the line? Jason?
We have no other callers on the line.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in the audience? Last chance to address the board. Okay, we will now move on to our first agenda topic, which is the Montauk Playhouse Community Center Foundation update. We have. Wants to speak. I'm sorry?
I'm so sorry. I was.
Oh, Yuka, would you like to address the board in public comment? Oh, you have a petition? You could give that to the town clerk. You can present it to the town clerk for us.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. So back to our agenda topics, the Montauk Playhouse Community Center Foundation update. We have Sarah Uticone here, who's the president of the foundation, and we're very excited to have you as well as other board members and contributors to the foundation to discuss this exciting advancement of a very long-held goal. So welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm happy to be here. I'm here to present the plan to complete an aquatic center in the unfinished portion of the Montauk Playhouse building. In 1999, Montauk citizens formed the Playhouse Foundation to save an important historic landmark, now known to many as the Playhouse Building. The building itself has served many uses over the years, but its common theme has always been that it's adapted to the needs of its community and has served as a gathering space. When the building fell into disrepair, the town and citizens worked together to save it. The foundation and the town of East Hampton turned the renovated portion of the building into a community center. Successful community centers provide services that are otherwise challenging to access for an immediate geographic community. They address barriers to accessing programming and amenities, and they often act as a meeting point for the community. Their purpose is driven by a community's size, demographics, and unique needs. The renovated portion of the Playhouse building has been providing vital services like child daycare, a senior nutrition center, and town recreation programs, including the ever so popular pickleball, since it opened. The citizens of Montauk identified an additional community need all those years ago, a pool to teach swim instruction and water safety. For the last 24 years, hundreds of volunteers and thousands of donors have dedicated time and money to the Playhouse Foundation's effort to plan for, design, and build a community pool. Over 2,600 individuals have given donations, and this does not include the number of people that have purchased tickets to the many events that were given over the years for fundraising. I'm happy to be here to represent all of those that have been waiting for a pool to get built and who have continued to contribute to this important effort. After many years of hoping for a pool, people begin to question, is this still the right project? Is this what the community needs? Will it succeed? To answer those questions, the foundation engaged James Lima Planning and Development, an economic and community planning firm based in New York City. Over 16 weeks, they interviewed over 30 stakeholders from different sectors of the community, researched business plans and construction drawings, researched case studies for programming and operations, and met with finance, engineering, construction, operational, and programming experts. The answers were overwhelmingly yes to the original questions. This is the right project, the community very much needs it, and it will succeed. The plans we have developed meet priority community needs. Stakeholders confirmed how Montauk's population demographics, spending habits, and community issues may have changed in the past few years. There's confirmation of general growth when you take a look at the demographic trends, but there's growth in specific types of households. Families with small children have grown. Households with children under 6 years of age grew by 4 times. There's also a general aging of the population, especially in Montauk relative to other portions of East Hampton. The young adult group grew as well. And that's a population I think we want to encourage to stay in Montauk. Here's a quick look at the market or trade area within a 45-minute or so drive. We already know citizens are driving to Montauk for pickleball. And when you look at the geographic area that's covered by only one pool, it's easy to see that Montauk is a swimming pool desert. It's geographically isolated and surrounded by water. So it's important to provide swim instruction and services for aquatic water safety within a reasonable distance. The demand is there. The private market operators say there's enough students with the young population increasing and older adults to make sure core programming works. Core programming would be wellness and swim instruction based. The United States Swim School Association says the national market is only approximately 30% saturated. Our country is underserved for aquatics and swim instruction, and people here in Montauk and East Hampton love to spend time on aquatic activities. We're well above the national average. There's already a market for, and patrons are already in the Playhouse building with the Child Care Center and the Senior Nutrition Center. Wellness and instruction-based programming will be directed at the building's patrons and connected to existing programming and services in the building. On the first floor, we have a 2-pool design to accommodate wellness, fitness, and swim instruction. One pool is a 4-lane, 25-yard lap pool. The second pool is designated as a wellness and recreation pool. Now, for the very important question, we have a design, we have a market, we have the demand, but who will operate the pool? I'm happy to introduce Lars Mersberg from Imagine Swimming.
Welcome, Lars.
Thank you for having us. So, yeah, when I spoke to James Lima Foundation in the fall, as a Montauk resident, Ditch Plains resident, and East Village resident, my son goes to school in Montauk. I was honored and excited that Imagine Swimming was considered as the operator, and it quickly became clear that it would be an excellent fit for the community, because we have been running swim schools in Manhattan and in Brooklyn for 20 years. We have 4,000 children per week that we teach. We have a swim team, a synchronized swimming team, and we do water safety instructions for schools, for children of schools around the Armory in Brooklyn, where we have a public-private partnership. So to give access to kids that have previously no access and are first-generation swimmers. So we plan to do the same thing here in schools in Swim Springs, East Hampton, and Montauk schools, and do after-school programs. and give access to children that would not learn to swim, the growing Hispanic population here, especially in any at-risk population. So it's a 90% chance that you don't learn to swim and your parents don't know how to swim. So we want to kind of reverse that trend, give access to everyone from babies to seniors. And with our teaching philosophy, our teaching staff, our school's reputation, and also our client base that is in the city and out east, we feel we're the ideal operator to work in tandem with the Playhouse and build this program for decades to come. Our core age is 3, 4, 5-year-olds, but we focus on the poles as well of society, of old people, seniors, and babies. So we bring all of that together in the swimming pool. And the great thing about this design is that it's actually the ideal design by the United States Swim School Association. They have 2 bodies of water, one competition pool, so we can do a MACOs, the swim team, a master's team, and have the baby pool for seniors, for rehabilitative programming, and also for baby swim, so keep that really warm. So have 2 bodies of water is really ideal for our programming needs. We have 5 pools in the city, 3 in Manhattan and 2 in Brooklyn, where we have 150 teachers teach, as I said, 4,000 students per week. A lot of those are also living out here. We have a client list of 40,000 that have swum with us over the last 21 years. And so they would be definitely in the summertime, that would be explosive programming for the summer months of July and August, but we also plan to service the shoulder months in the winter season and give the schools access to do lessons there, and partnerships with schools, which would come from our own subsidies. We give about $500,000 a year last year in free swim lessons to the community in Brooklyn and Lower Manhattan communities. We want to do the same here, rely on grants, but also we have a partnership with the Hope Floats Foundation, which is a nationwide partnership, charity and foundation that raises money to teach swimming and water safety, because it's the biggest killer, the largest cause of death for children 0 to 5. So we're also politically involved in Albany and have been lobbying to give transportation to swimming pool deserts all across the country, and perhaps even have health insurance cover a certain stipend towards swim lessons, because it is the largest killer of children 0 to 5, and especially from children from underserved communities. So we're excited to bring that together here on the East End and honor all the diversity of the community and give access to all, from babies to seniors and all aquatic enthusiasts. I came to this country in '96 at 21. I'm German. I came here on a swimming scholarship to go to Berkeley. And I swam on the German team in the 90s. So moved to New York in 01 and started the swim school in 02. And it's been 21 years now of building a school from a few dozen kids to thousands. And we're honored that we're considered here to be the operator for Imagine Swimming in Montauk. And we're excited to start building. Sarah, Mo, and the board and Imagine have been working together on design of the pool, because it's very important that we have a filtration system that serves potentially thousands of students per week in the summer months. And we're excited to get this going and start in July and get this project that many have, I guess, because it's taking so long, there's been doubts, but there's so much momentum now. And especially, I think, excelled by the pandemic, where all the pools closed and the drownings have been rising the last 2 or 3 years, which has actually outnumbered COVID deaths. So it's even more of an urgency that we get this pool built and give access to the community for families of all levels. Thank you.
Thank you, Lars. The other important thing is that Imagine had input into this design. So we got their lessons learned from operating multiple pools, what systems work, what's better, how you keep the water clean, how you eliminate foot traffic. So it's a really thoughtful design, and a lot of experienced minds went into it. So now that we've gone over the history, who will operate it, how is this project going to happen? We have a planned partnership with the town of East Hampton. The foundation will donate a full set of complete construction documents to the town to use for the town's bidding process. Island Structures Engineer, the firm that worked on the first half of the Playhouse renovation, is the architect for the project. Thanks to the town's commitment of $5 million, thank you, private funds raised by the foundation, and of course, ongoing fundraising, we're planning for a July groundbreaking ceremony. In conclusion, an aquatic center for Montauk is essential, the project is sustainable, and it's supported. To be a part of the project or learn more, please contact the Playhouse Foundation.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Do board members have any questions?
I
or
was just
comments?
wondering if Sarah wanted to introduce the board members that are here in attendance today.
Of course. This is Maureen Cahill, Steve Tuma, our Vice President, our Development Director, Julia McCormick, and Board Member Fabio Rosati. And Jennifer Carney Iacono, who put together this wonderful slide presentation for us. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Sarah. I just want to make a few comments. One is that I've been around long enough to remember when this was a dream that was funded by contributions for bake sales and movie nights. And this has been a long-term goal of the Montauk community. And to see it finally reach the point where we're ready to move forward, be breaking ground this season for the culmination of what's been an awful lot of work and devotion from members of the Montauk community. It's a pleasure and honor to, as town supervisor, and with this board committing $5 million worth of taxpayer funds towards the fulfillment of this dream in a building that the town owns and that we've partnered with the foundation over many years to provide really quality services to the Montauk community. And again, it's incredibly exciting for me, and I know the board shares this excitement that we're finally reaching the point where we're ready to go. So thank you all for all of your work, your contribution of time, of money and efforts to get us to this point. We're very excited also to have Lars involved as the entity that would be operating the pool, because we know how complex operating a pool in a public setting is, and to have someone with those kind of credentials and background and expertise to help both provide the programming and operational skill, but also to understand the physical plant, what needs to be taken into account to make this property function properly, is really important. So we think we have a really excellent team of like-minded community members, and we're excited to move forward. So thank you all so much.
We do. I'm very excited. It's been a pleasure to meet all of the people in this community that care so much, and to have such access to talent and really people that care about their community. It's remarkable. So
yeah, I want to thank all of you for all the work that you've done. We talk about preserving a lot of things here. You've heard historical structures, traditions, but what you folks are doing is to help preserve our community. And I really want to thank you for all of your efforts.
And so I'll go next if you don't mind.
Okay.
So as many of you know, I grew up out here, and the two pools that we swam in aren't even there anymore. There's a YMCA now, but originally it was across the street from it. That's where we would walk to and start swimming. And then our Johnny Ryan, Mr. Ryan Sr. would take us up to the scuba place in Peconic, which is now derelict, not even there. So to have a world-class facility, an operator come in the Montauk region is very healthy to the town. And even more so promotes everything that the town, the village and the town have been promoting for the years to the Ryan family, is waterproofing the town. The numbers, Lars, that you just mentioned are staggering. But when you think about it, and when knowing that we have 71 miles of coastline out here and how many other pools, it is very important to teach what we consider a basic element is just to learn how to swim. And that doesn't happen all the time. So to be able to move this forward is important. Peter's been around here longer than I have as far as being the public servant and working the town. But my children have gone to that playhouse for over 16 years in the daycare. My wife started working there 17, 18 years ago now. So It is wonderful to see the other side get built now. And it is a building that's on the National Historical Register, staying within that. It's just great to see that we're this close to it in reality, to getting your feet wet. So thank you. Thank you all.
And I just wanted to say that I just want to commend the foundation for the methodical approach you took, doing the James Lima study to confirm the plans and moving as quickly as you have, right? Pretty soon we'll be doing a board resolution, accepting the plans, and we'll be going out to bid and joining your construction meetings, which you're already holding weekly. We'll be part of that team, and we look forward to that. And just want to congratulate you on how far you've come. Thank you.
And also thank everyone else that's been before you also, too. There's been a lot of individuals in the community that have helped, and and that's wonderful to keep it going, and to particularly when sometimes things feel they're stalled, to keep moving and get past the finish line. It's a community that built it. So well done.
Definitely.
I think there's been a collective sigh of relief that finally this is coming to pass. And so again, thank you all so much. We look forward to working together to see this project through to fruition.
Likewise. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Our next agenda topic is UR map modification 59 Gardner's Lane. We did review this at our last work session. There were a number of different possible approaches that we were considering. I think we've all received now various maps that reflect those potential options of dealing with the situation. And we are now prepared to continue our discussion of that. Basically, the request was to modify the map to change the access point on a UR lot from one end of what is Gardner's Lane to the other. And I believe we have our soon-to-be housing director, who is still working within the planning department, bringing up the various maps. Eric, you'll be walking us through.
Sure. Yeah, and I'll give
map request.
Sorry. I'll give you a little bit of an update from last week. There's actually a number of items to consider. Their pertinent documents. Just as a reminder, there we go. So just as a reminder, this is the location of the property. I can show you farther out, but it's about midway between 3 Mile Harbor Road and Springs Fireplace Road in sort of Central Springs, Northern Springs.
We call it South Central Springs.
South Central? Okay.
Central, really? Okay.
It's a nice neighborhood. Well, you gotta.
It's going to be out of Springs. Is going to be in the next hit.
So anyway, the discussion again was, well, the request is to modify the urban renewal map where it currently requires access to be taken from the southeast corner of Gardner's Lane. The applicants began construction, as you can see, and began clearing on the northwestern side of what is also called Gardner's Lane. The right-of-way continues in somewhat of a zigzag shape here. So the request is to modify the access there. The board had discussed a number of options, also discussed the fact that under the UR map, the owners are entitled to claim basically a 20-foot wide portion of the right-of-way where on both the southern and western side.
Oh, I apologize. I'm sorry.
That's their property. There was a discussion about, trying to prevent further clearing of the area. Again, as you can see in green here, this is a town-owned property. It's not a CPF property. This is also a town-owned property. Together, those along with the right-of-way create, a green space in the middle of that neighborhood. So basically, the board had asked last week that we look into really 3 options for providing access. And One being basically the current, use under the currently required access point to the southeast, accounting for the area that the owners can claim of the right-of-way and considering the impacts of them bringing a driveway up and then to the northwest corner of the parcel where the access, as you can see indicated by that dot, is where they propose it to be. Another option that came up in discussion was this portion where you see this solid black line. This is improved, and I can go back to the aerial, but it's currently paved with asphalt. The idea being the shortest run to that access point going via an easement over this town-owned property to that point. And then the other, as you see in green here, is basically what the applicants are proposing as far as the modified access. So if I scroll down in this illustration, what you'll see here, again, proposal A, well, here, let me try to zoom out a little bit so I can get you the whole thing. That's better. So basically, proposal A, which is indicated by the blue, which would be basically how we anticipate they would bring their access in under the current configuration, requires the most amount of clearing. It's about 5,600 square feet. Proposal B is what the applicants are requesting, which is to come from the northwest. That would require 3,300 square feet roughly. And then obviously the straight shot in across the town-owned property requires the least amount of clearing at about 1,700 square feet in total. I would like to mention that there are a number of things that also have been brought to our attention since the last week. There was a public comment submitted that had some documentation with it. It's our understanding that it is correct that the applicants, as permitted under the current UR map, have claimed already this portion of the blue. So that's something that has occurred. It's not a future consideration. Additionally, pictures were submitted that verified that most, if not all of the entirety of this area has been cleared. Additionally, you'll remember, and I'll switch right back to the aerial, that the majority of the area illustrated in green has been cleared. There was also mention of as you might remember, there was a building permit obviously issued on this property. It was the planning department's understanding that the building department issued that building permit with the design that basically didn't require, but indicated strongly that the access would be to come from the northwest. It seems that there's some ambiguity on that. As a member of the planning department, I would not like to speak to what happened with the building department. Perhaps you should inquire with them, but I don't want to get into suppositions of the permitting and the conversations that went back and forth. But there is basically, it has been called into question as to whether or not there was a building permit issued. I don't know if you'd call it an error, but basically a building permit that indicated to the applicants that they were to come in from the northwest.
Eric, can you just refresh my memory as to the ownership of the green hatched area?
The ownership of the green hatched area is entirely the town's.
Thank you.
And as indicated by the blue, that is as a matter of right for the applicants. And again, as we understand, it is now incorporated into that tax map parcel.
So essentially, the blue crosshatch area has been abandoned, is now in the ownership of the property owner requesting this modification. And it seems that they have, in fact, by clearing that, have solved their dilemma.
If they were to continue to use that as access, that is what's indicated on the current UR map, and no
they can
modification
now
would be
access from the proper location of their property, correct?
Correct.
And my question is then what, if that blue hatch is already cleared, then why is that when you are doing the clearing calculations down on the bottom, is that existing clearing?
Well, that's just
You need 3,000 square foot additional clearing?
We didn't, those numbers are basically just the area that you see in that. It doesn't account, we haven't gone and done a field inspection and identified exactly where the limits of clearing would be. Based on what I've seen in pictures and aerials, you can basically assume that the majority, if not all, all
So
of that
essentially
area.
what they're asking is that the town property be used for their access so that they don't have to utilize their own property for access.
Correct.
And to me, that's not an acceptable remedy. Just my opinion.
Do you know when the pool permit was, the building permit for the pool was issued?
I don't know offhand.
And I guess my question, was it prior to after the abandonment of the road? Because I was at the property today.
Mhm.
Everything that is stated in the blue has been clear cut completely. Pool equipment is now put on to the property line. And if they applied for, if they installed or got a pool permit prior to the 20-foot easement, they would actually not be within their setbacks. They might be now, but I'm just wondering whether the chicken or the egg on it.
I believe the pool permit was issued prior to the abandonment.
So
Claiming the abandonment.
okay, so they've then changed their location of their pool equipment.
With respect to their property lines. Yeah, to those two property lines, absolutely.
And how was this at the time, when was this property cleared? The property that was the road abandoned in Blue Hatch, was that cleared before they took claim of the property?
Yes. Yes.
And then there's also clearing up by the northern side as well, correct?
Yes. Yeah, this aerial photograph is taken from roughly this time last year, so it's a bit dated. Obviously, there's been a lot of activity since then. But you can clearly see on it that the northwest access, proposed access, was used as a construction entrance and was largely cleared into, and in fact, beyond the 20-foot, almost for the entire width of this right-of-way. So that clearing occurred with the construction of the residence. And then subsequent to that, currently this entire area is essentially clear.
So
So they knowingly cleared and utilized property that wasn't theirs for access or belonging to them in the course of this construction.
It does seem that way, yes.
So I have two concerns. One is that the property to uneducated eye to clearing, it looks like it's over cleared. So those numbers might have to be looked at in the field upon closure of a C of O. As brought out in the planning board memo, there is a trail connector that's there. It looks like it's still actively being used, but the property is so disturbed right now that there are options to remedy their own needs right now based on land that they own.
Correct. And I would like to make one distinction. So I don't know the current state of the property, if the property boundaries, even including the portion of the right of way, is over cleared over the clearing regulation. That's something we would have to go and do a site inspection, but just an important distinction. There's clearing that occurred not on their property, on town property within the right of way.
right.
Yeah, and that I'm concerned about that. And I think, we should seek remediation.
Yeah, that was going to be my comment. So traditionally, when property that doesn't belong to an applicant or clearing happens on town property, I assume we seek that to be remedied.
So does the board, do we have a consensus on how we want to?
I think the applicant has access to the property and the location that the UR map is designed for.
But it's coming from the 3 Mile Harbor.
It's coming from Garner's Lane South.
South.
Where it's noted on.
So within their own abandoned area,
The Blue Hatch.
the abandoned roadway.
So is the modification, does that include relocating the access point to the property, to that northern part of the parcel? Has that been done?
So we have a request to modify the map.
Yeah.
Currently, they're shown as having access at the southern portion of the property.
Right.
Which they've abandoned that roadway, so they still have that option to access their garage without being off property. And my opinion is that we should decline to modify the map.
I concur.
Last time we looked at different options is because of the trail. And I knowing that there's a trail connection is important for play of kids. But overall, right now, there's a lot that has gone wrong on this property. I'm not inclined to change the map.
I would agree.
Sounds like that's unanimous.
And they need to
Revegetate portions of the town property that were cleared without permission.
Yeah, we'll look into the potential remedies for that.
Thank you, Eric.
Okay, that brings us up to our next UR map modification, and that's on Springs Fireplace Road.
Yeah.
It's the application to change the access off of Springs Fireplace Road onto the adjoining side street.
Correct. We have the public hearing on this.
February 16th.
There's one in the packet, so I don't know if board members.
Yeah, I have it. I think the board knows where this property is. So basically, what you see here, this is along Springs Fireplace Road. This is just to the north and west of the East Hampton transfer station. In fact, you can see this building here, which some people refer to as Caldor East back in this time. And then this is the bus depot for the school district. Basically, the urban renewal map right now requires direct access to this parcel off of Springs Fireplace Road. I'll show you the existing proposed in a moment. Proposal is to have access both at the entrance to the transfer station and then access, but in the form of an exit only, the exit only from the transfer station. This property is the subject of an active site plan for a car wash use. And what I'll do now is just show you again the existing and proposed UR map. So this is basically the existing access point, again, that would be on Springs Fireplace Road. The proposal, and I'll find a site plan for you to show this in more detail. But at basically where the owner's applicants are at this point in the process with the planning board is a proposal to have an entrance only come in the entrance only to the transfer station. There's a car wash building proposed to the rear here with parking in the front and a buffer, and basically a one-way in and then one-way out, using both the rights of way to the south and the north.
But Eric, may I stop you there for a minute? Because whatever application is in front of the planning board, as far as what we're doing, is that material to us in making this decision? We're looking at a modification of a UR map.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just trying to give you the background on it.
Thanks.
But basically, the planning you have in your records from the planning department, the planning board, and the town engineer recommending that this be a superior access point for the property. Obviously, everybody knows, and just going right back to the aerial just real quick, this section of Springs Fireplace Road is a very busy section. There's multiple, as indicated by the entrance and exit to the transfer station, there's multiple conflict points at this point of the road. Also another consideration, and it's a little difficult to see, but the turning lanes in this section of the road would need to be modified if there ever were to be access taken directly here. That would put another conflict point on that county roadway. So obviously, basically, really any alternative access location is superior to the one that's currently drawn. So yes, basically that is what's before this board, the town board, with the authority to modify the UR map. The individual aspects of site design and access, where specifically that's going to be, that's the planning board's call. But yes, thank you for clarifying that, because that is, technically what is the only matter in front of you is that modification of the access point.
And there's meant to be a 50-foot easement, scenic
Yes.
easement also that would be disrupted if the access point was on Springs Fireplace Road?
That's correct.
And that's across the entire front of the property?
Yeah, the entire width along Springs Fireplace Road.
I'm in agreement with the Suffolk County Department of Public Works and the town's engineer on the locating. I think it's the appropriate location for this property for use for access and to keep it off a curb cut off the road.
I think that the traffic circulation at this location would be really negatively impacted by having direct access out onto Springs Fireplace Road. I think that would be a disaster, frankly. And given the volume of traffic that comes into the recycling center and what one might anticipate should this property ever, go into operation as a car wash. So I think from a planning standpoint, maintaining that scenic easement buffer along Springs Fireplace is very important. Minimizing the number of access driveways onto Springs Fireplace is important. And I think having a one-way circulation consistent with the existing traffic patterns going in and out is really important to maintain. So that's my take on it. I would grant the map modification.
And I would agree with both David and Peter that, the decision for the curb cuts, the access from Maryland and Ohio is what's best from a planning perspective. But in reading the planning board's memo to the town board, I just want to, make a point that I'm not looking at this from any active, site plan before the planning board, not looking to put my thumb on the scale. When I read their memo, it's implied that they want us to consider that, and that's not at all, in our jurisdiction. They're an autonomous board, and they will make whatever decision that they come to based on the facts that are before them. But as far as access to a UR map, I agree with the.
And Kathy, I think you make a very important point. We should make it clear that by acting on the map modification, we are in no way either giving our tacit approval or condone the way this property is being proposed to be developed. It should not be construed as such. And we are simply acting directly upon the request that the town board has been asked to make because we solely have the ability to modify the map. So from a planning standpoint and for all the reasons I think the board's articulated, sounds like we would support the map modification.
Yeah, for me, it's sound planning. We've learned from a lot of presentations that have come before the board that individual curb cuts to properties exacerbate traffic. And we're always looking now to have common driveways, common roadways internally before traffic gets out onto the main road. So for that reason, and maintaining that 50-foot scenic easement, I think is just following town code. So I also agree.
Anything else before we move on? Okay, we'll move on to our next UR map modification request. Oh, I'm sorry. It's the proposed alley widening easement, my mistake. And that is at South Essex and South Euclid Avenue in Montauk.
Well, I think basically there's not a whole lot to tell the board about this. This is an easement that's required by the planning board in these site plans when there's proposed development to make sure there's adequate width. I believe the alleyways are 20 feet. Is that correct? 20 feet in width, and this adds another 2 feet on each side to make it 24 feet, which is our requirement for access. And so the purpose of these easements is just to make access and the ability to pass other cars more practical.
Yeah, basically, and this is common in downtown Montauk because the alleyways in between the individual blocks are only 20 feet in width, and proper planning and many of the site plans are designed where the alleyways are eventually improved and access is given to rear parking spaces. However, since the actual physical right-of-way of those alleyways is only 20 feet in width, and under the code, if you have parking spaces perpendicular, you need an access lane behind it of 24 feet in width. The standard operating procedure has been to require a 2-foot road widening easement on either side of the alleyway. So in the case of both of these individual properties that were mentioned, and they involve the alleyways of 2 properties, behind 2 properties, one on South Essex, one on South Euclid, there are approved site plans that incorporate that design. So it's kind of standard, and planning department has no objection to it, and in fact recommends that you do grant them.
Board members have any questions or comments?
No, I mean, this board and other boards have heard me, committees have state this is probably the most amount of development in the town of East Hampton on multiple properties in one small area has been South Euclid. I think the planning board has been looking, the planning department, excuse me, has been looking at this area and developing it correctly, either by granting variance for parking in the right of way to make sure it's developed as a central business area. This seems pretty typical, but it's needed for the public safety aspect of it. And I don't have any problems with the request or how we move forward.
Any other board members?
I agree.
I support it.
I support it as well. So you have another unanimous decision on your map there. That brings us up to our last agenda item, which is URP 125. And that is a change of access and provision for partial road abandonment.
This is actually just south of the first your application we looked at.
Yeah, I'll get it. I'll give the overview.
This is what's proposed here.
Okay, so, oops, share screen house. Yeah.
Yes.
So this is actually one of the maps I had. The parcel highlighted is the 59 Gardner's lane one. But you'll see the property that's the subject of this request is right here. It's just to the immediate south. That being said, I don't think anything you discussed or anything involved in that previous application really relates to this property or this request directly. Basically what the applicants are requesting, and you can see this, the close-up aerial, the UR map requires that they take their access down this side of the property. As you can see on the aerial, they have been historically taking access from this corner and then basically abruptly ending it just at that corner of the property. So this is essentially what the existing access configuration is, with the applicants permitted to claim to the halfway point here, but no access there, and then coming down by an individual driveway that comes all the way down to the south here. Just to jump to the proposed, which would essentially be allowing them to claim this portion, no longer having a driveway on that side, but then having access come to this corner of the property where the driveway is. I think we would have to further amend this map to, well, actually, no, excuse me. I was gonna say maybe to remove the hashing here, but as long as they're allowed to claim it, it becomes their property. I'm just wondering about whether or not there's a proper legal access width of the property there. But basically going back to the aerial again, so that sort of reflects the existing conditions. They've incorporated this portion as a lawn, and it has been for a number of years. And this is the existing access point. Under the current map, again, this would be required to be a driveway, basically around to the back of the home. And then this would be abandoned. It could, in theory, all of this span could, in theory, be lawn or whatever they wanted, because it's theirs. The claim is a matter of right. It's a minor change. It reflects existing conditions. You have a memo from the town engineer who supports the change. Planning department has no objection. Planning board had no objection. You know, there's really not much of a difference here, and it's a shorter amount of pavement. So we support the request.
I'm fine with
Board
it.
members?
I'm fine with it.
I was in the area this morning also, and it's appropriate for the area then too. And it seems like they're doing it the right way.
When it's done the right way.
Well, they're changing the map before they abandon it. Yeah.
That is nice.
Again, I agree with the fellow board members. Okay, that concludes our work session agenda. Now we have liaison reports.
Right. So I just wanted to let folks know that next Tuesday, April 18th, we're going to have the team from R2 here to present fine-tuned schematic plans for the new senior center. They're looking at the approach to the building and drop-off, the site amenities, the view corridors, building form and roof lines, exterior building materials, plantings, sustainability solutions will be discussed, as well as fire department access. Last week, Diane Patrizio and I met with the R2 team, including the kitchen consultant, and the plan for the kitchen is quite developed. We got input from town staff in the nutrition program, and but we would like a little bit of guidance on a recycling and composting plan. So I've reached out to Kate, and she's going to put me in touch with some of the folks that she's working on from her energy sustainability subcommittee, and talk about, you know, best practices for recycling and composting for the new senior center, and hopefully incorporate it into the current center, what we're doing right now. The other thing I wanted to announce, I've been in touch with Sergeant Kenny Alversa, and later this month, we're going to be holding Drug Take Back Day. As you know, we hold this twice a year in the spring and the fall. We're now scheduled for Saturday, April 22nd from 10 to 2 here at in the back in front of the police annex. We'll have the van there for folks to drop off prescription medications, over-the-counter meds, and medications for household pets. You know, we typically collect anywhere between 30 and 50 pounds of you know, unused and unexpired medications. This is, you know, a win-win for you know, our residents, and as well as, you know, the environment, so that folks aren't, you know, flushing medications down the toilet. So I have a resolution on this afternoon to run ads like we always do in the East Hampton Star, East Hampton Press, and Sag Harbor Express. We're going to be running those ads in English and Spanish. So that's on for today. Then I just wanted to touch base on the East Hampton Citizens Advisory Committee. We met last week and we discussed a number of new business items. One was dog owners on the beaches. Members have noticed that folks are not cleaning up after their dogs. They're actually using the mutt mitts, the plastic bags that we make available, but they don't want to carry it with them, so they leave it on the beach. And then, you know, the dog takes off, they're walking, and they never come back, swing around back to where they dropped their bags. So I've reached out to David and the folks at Parks and Rec, and they're going to be putting, you're going to be adding it to the signage, so that just a reminder for folks that they need to take the bag with them. And it was also noticed that we didn't have a dispenser for the mutt mitts at Atlantic Avenue Beach, so we're going to be putting one there. The other thing that came up was in the vicinity of Springs Fireplace Road and North Main Street. Many of you may know that members of the East Hampton CAC has adopted a road from the intersection of North Main on Springs Fireplace up to, I believe it's Queens Lane. And they're out there at least once a month picking up trash. And they've really noticed a lot of garbage and refuse being deposited by the Sherrill property. And they've asked, I mean, a lot of times on Springs Fireplace Road, it's garbage, it's litters blowing out of trucks and things. But this looks like people are just dropping it there. And they've asked if we could put a garbage can there, add that to the route. So I was going to talk to you about that, David. And they've also expressed concern for cars entering, exiting, and parking at the package store that's at that first gas station on North Main Street. I notice when I drive by, it's like, almost feels like there's not enough parking there and people are parking on the sidewalk and it's a concern. So I was just going to raise that at the enforcement meeting that we have, the internal meeting we have tomorrow morning.
So I've been in touch with Steve Lynch. We're looking to repaint those parking spots and the curbs and make sure that the signs are appropriately placed for egress, for visual egress into some of those properties. So we're looking at that. And what makes a 20-foot parking spot can you get? You shouldn't have two and a half parking spots. You should just have two on there. So we're looking at that.
Great.
And you can mention it
and
also.
improving visibility there, which is great. The other thing that came up.
And can I just, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And also enforcement of time limits then too. So that's part of it then.
Okay, great. I'll bring that up when we meet again. And then also that what came up for discussion is the presentation that Dr. Allison McGovern had made a couple weeks back. Prudence alluded to it at the Calvary Baptist Church, where she talked about the origins of the Freetown neighborhood and how it's evolved. And it came up again in discussion about the St. Matthew's Chapel and, you know, if having it be the community's desire to have it moved from East Hampton Point to either, oh my God, I just had a mental, the Fowler House, but also from what I understand, Reverend Thompson offered to have the chapel moved to the Calvary Baptist Church property. So the CAC is supportive of the move and requested that I keep them apprised as things move forward. Next up is the East Hampton Historical Farm Museum. So today we have a resolution on to adopt the management plan. And as you know, as Prudence again brought up, that they're looking to have an old-fashioned barn raising for a shed so that they can get those carriages out from, you know, being at the mercy of the weather. And in the management plan, where we have amended it so that it allows for, you know, one storage shed or barn of not more than 600 square feet, and that's what they're looking to do. The application for this storage shed has already been before the planning board, and it received conditional approval. They were then required to go to the ARB. That was actually discussed at last Thursday's ARB meeting, and the ARB came back with 3 comments. One, they recognized the need for the storage shed and find this addition a positive one. They also went on to say, if possible, it should be preferable to site the building to avoid the removal of mature cherry trees on site. And lastly, the design, style, and materials of the storage shed appear to be in harmony with the historic nature of the property and compatible with the general regulations governing historic landmarks. So now, as we follow the town code, this application is now referred to us because it comes to the town board since it's a town-owned historic landmark. So what I was hoping is that John's office could draft a resolution indicating that we've reviewed the reports from the ARB and the planning board, and that we are in agreement with their recommendations. And then once that occurs, it can go to the building department for review and a building permit. And I just wanted to confirm that everybody is good with that, so that we could direct the town attorney's office to draft that resolution to have on for our meeting on Thursday, April 20th.
Yes, I'm supportive, and I agree with the comments received from ARB.
Great. And then lastly, I have a little show and tell. Just want to remind folks that your beach driving permit needs to be yellow. These are the new permits that we issued this year. So please, you know, come to the town clerk's office for your beach driving permit. The clerk's office is open from 9 a.m. to 3:30. Again, it needs to be trimmed in yellow because the blue permits.
And again, resident permits are free.
Correct. Resident permits are free.
Non-resident permits.
And I'm hoping we can maybe post this on our social media just to give folks a nudge so that the town clerk's office isn't slammed just before the holiday weekend. And that's all I have for today.
Thank you for that, Kathy. It's a helpful reminder, and we'll make sure that gets on our social media platform as well. David, do you have a liaison report?
Sure. Dump permits are also needed now too.
Clam licenses.
Clam licenses.
Don't forget your clam licenses.
We are 6 weeks.
Carol's like, be
Carol's
quiet.
like, be quiet.
We are 6 weeks to Memorial Day. The town of East Hampton is currently still looking for any lifeguards, recreational aides, or seasonal laborers in our Buildings and Grounds Department and Recreation Department. Any interested in a wonderful job with the town, please contact our John Rooney in our Rec Department at 324-4141. Adding to that, the Beach Advisory Committee will be meeting shortly, and we'll come to the town board in probably May with our update for our season opening update. Currently, right now, Buildings and Grounds is going around doing cleanups of many of our beach road ends right now. Starting in Montauk, a lot of them were pretty damaged because of the Christmas, the storm around the holiday time. We're also getting ready to put in our new signage at many of our locations that are consolidating our signage using QR codes, and those will be placed mostly on the north sides of our bay beaches and such, and the beaches in Wainscott also be getting them too. I'll let everyone know that the intersection at Manor Road in front of the Rough Riders, the new tax district over there, has been ongoing, is almost complete. And they're going to be moving forward with that, and John will help with the next processes of accepting that road into the highway system on there upon meaningful completion on there then too. So that's going forward. I've actually heard some actually happy remarks from people in Montauk about it too. The Fisheries Advisory Committee met yesterday, subsection of it. We were discussing our shoreside infrastructure analysis. Continue to work through that. It's very important for the Fisheries Advisory Committee to make sure that the town board has a document to work off of for any type of shoreside infrastructure or properties that you might want to target for fisheries. Water Quality Technical Advisory Committee continue to meet this week also in advance of giving recommendations to the town board for the RFA 1 for water quality projects. We will probably get to that actually probably based on the meeting schedule first week or second week in May into the recommendations a little bit later than we would like to as far as our when we were looking at our planning, but there were some complicated ones and some questions I had, and there's a lot of good debate, a lot of good discussion, so we'll bring it forward then. Want to let everyone know that the Westlake Comfort Station, which is over by Gosman's, will be delivered and set in place tomorrow. Including with that is an IA septic system upgrade. Again, the modular bathroom will be in place tomorrow. We're all set for that. We've actually also putting conduiting in there just in case we want to put an EV electrical charger station there. It's one of the only locations that the town has that option to do so. So we're just in case we want to, we're putting conduiting in as a location to do so.
Great.
They've also started in that same location on the property with the removal of material as we move forward to making that a location for fisheries gear storage then too. That'll hopefully be complete by our outside contractors in the next week or two then too. The Little League ball fields over at Stephen Hand's Path are pretty much ready to be played on. They passed their GMAX test. We're moving forward. We're going to get a letter of substantial completion on there. You're probably going to see children playing on them by this weekend.
So when is I was there this weekend and the parking lot still hadn't been paved. Is that
paving today?
Really?
Yeah. So trails are paving today. Parking lot's going to be paving today and tomorrow. We'll see how they get in there. But we're looking at I think the 22nd is
first pitch, 22nd, right?
Yeah.
We have time yet?
No, but I'll get it to you, and I'll make sure I'll get it to the members of the community and also the
start
warming it
working
up.
out my arm. Yeah,
Hurt yourself there.
I don't want to hurt myself.
Along with that is a water filling, a bottled water filling station has been installed there. The bathrooms are going to be completely redone by Buildings and Grounds, and also the playgrounds are set. So. People are excited.
Yeah, they were working there on Saturday when I was there.
That was contractors doing the shed for Little League.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's been donated.
Which is handsome looking.
Yeah, and it's the same coloring as you notice to the electrical component. So with the same asphalt shingles and roof shingles, and also the hardy boards colors. We try to make sure it was all cohesive. Yeah,
it's very handsome, David.
Everyone's done it. So, and they're doing great. I mean, the kids are excited. They want to get on there. I want to let everyone know that we're in the middle of ADA improvements in Montauk. These are all the ramps that are going around Carl Fisher Plaza. Many of them have already been completed. They're working on them as we speak, and they're also installing ADA sensory maps on there, and then also the pigment color. Remember, our town code says the color in Montauk has to be of a certain pigment for Carl Fisher, so they're doing that appropriately too. We're also doing some ADA improvements in some of our Little League fields at Lions Field and also in Montauk Field and Maidstone, I meant to say, and connecting some of the ADA pathways to the seated dugout areas or dugout or bench areas that were never done. So we're doing those. With that, everyone's started getting ready for the season. And as we say, we're 6 weeks away, as I mentioned earlier. That's all I have today. And I hope everyone enjoys the week.
Thank you, David. I sometimes wonder if that Carl Fisher pigment was just left over from Miami Beach with the development he was doing there, because it's kind of similar in color palette. So anyway, thank you. Kate, you have a report for us?
I do. First, I would like to announce a energy and sustainability forum, which will be on sustainable landscaping, everything you need to know. This will be a conversation of a panel of local landscapers and experts on sustainable landscaping and how you can have a beautiful landscape and still preserve all of the flora, fauna, the bio, the soils, and the all essential insects that live there. You can have both. So please join the conversation. Come in person on Thursday, April 20th at between 5 and 6:30 p.m. to LTV Studios, or tune in virtually through the live stream. And we'll have some more information about that.
Yeah, you know what, Kate, if you could send me that, because
yeah, happy.
I will send it to the team at R2 and have their folks, let's let them hear it from, local landscapers and
that's great.
Experts.
Also, I had brought to the board a recommendation or request from the Spring CAC. I had brought it a couple of months ago to declare, to join in the National Declaration of Bike Safety Month, being the month of May. So we can bring some awareness to the rules of the road, perhaps have a little presentation on what are those rules for folks, to remind folks coming out here, which way, the safest way to travel on bikes. And I will have a resolution on, with your support, declaring May also Bike Safety Month in East Hampton. The Maidstone Park, this Spring CSC Maidstone Park Recreation Playground update subcommittee met at Loring's house, and they were looking through catalogs at equipment that they'd like to see there. Of course, also making sure it's ADA, we have ADA access, and as we look to improve and replace this, the playground equipment at Maidstone Beach and spruce up the picnic area. So that is an ongoing effort. South Fork Wind is winding down. We gave them an extension for paving and restoration on Beach Lane. However, in the other areas of town, they're winding down on their activities. The contractor continues the cable pull, securing the cable to the site. That is ongoing, and that's 24-hour work through tonight. Also, the contractor they're going to start on Beach Lane backfilling the trench. They'll be testing the cable and joint cabling at the TJB. They're striping roads. So right now they've striped Wainscott Stone Road, Sayers Path, Wainscott Main Street, and Wainscott Northwest Road. They're continuing to restore the LIR corridor and work below grade and above grade on the interconnection station off of Cove Hollow Road. So that's the information on South Fork Wind. I'll just briefly bring up that Earth Day is coming. So the litter committee, again, will be have scheduled cleanups celebrating Earth Day. There's also will be an event out in Montauk. I'll have more information next week on the Relic program, the launching of the Relic pilot program, which is a basket program to remove your trash from the beach. Basket grab a basket, grab your stuff, put your garbage in it and bring it out. So that's going to be the beginning of that pilot program. And that's what I've got for today.
Thank you, Kate. I wanted to give a brief update on the downtown Montauk Beach replenishment. As part of the FIM project, we've been working on putting together easement document packets and have completed that, and they've been sent to the Army Corps of Engineers for approval. Once approved, they will be forwarded to the residents within the work area. Primarily, this would be the additional area that's east of the existing downtown sand. This will be, again, sand only replenishment. We'll be following up with residents as soon as they get those packets to try to get those documents all executed and completed within about a 2-week time frame. Our goal here is to try to get everything in place so that we can take advantage of the hopper dredge that will be in the area for the first phase of the Montauk to Fire Island or Fire Island to Montauk project, which would be in the Moriches Inlet area, Fire Island, Moriches Inlet. If we can get everything in order, we can tag on to that project and could conceivably see sand replenishment start in fall of 2023, fall of this year, with a completion prior to the season early 24. I believe we're out to bid now on the sand replenishment for the stabilization project that's already in place. We do an annual replenishment of the beaches in Montauk to bring them back prior to the beach season. So that's ongoing as well. And other Montauk news, I'll have a resolution on today for emergency stabilization of the area around the town-owned bulkhead adjacent to inlet seafood. David mentioned the fisheries. This is shoreside infrastructure with, I believe, the largest packing house that we have in New York's largest fishing port, Montauk. The existing bulkhead is collapsing due to recent storms, and it's deteriorated and it needs immediate repair. This would require the town board giving approval to authorize this emergency repair, which would be funded by Inlet Seafood as part of their lease. This is on, again, town-owned property. A week from this Thursday on 4/20, we'll be hosting a ribbon cutting here at our solar battery installation here at the Parks Building. This is the first ever New York State municipality to have such a project installed, where we have a solar that's charging batteries, so that we have basically a little microgrid here. We can also participate in electric arbitrage. So as rates go up and demand goes up in the summer, we can allow that energy to flow back onto the grid from these batteries. This was a project that was funded wholly by a grant from NYSERDA, $300,000 initial grant. It's another example of our efforts to move away from fossil fuels and to promote energy sustainability. We are also the first town on the South Fork to have a megawatt scale solar farm, which is out off Occoponoc Road. There have been a number of initiatives the town has moved forward on in recent years, including electric charging station infrastructure, conversion of our town facilities to LED lighting, saving hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxpayer money. And we've reinvested in more energy efficiency here. The 375th anniversary celebration is this year. And we are continuing to work with our committee and local schools to present various involvement in that celebration. We are planning to have a kickoff right here at Town Hall in June. And so I'll apprise the board as we get a little bit closer with the plans, but save the date also for the parade, celebration parade, which will be in September on the 23rd. It's a Saturday. So save that date. And it's exciting that we'll be honoring our heritage all throughout this year, some of which was alluded to earlier by some public speakers as well. So we're looking forward to that. And that's what I have. We have a few resolutions to offer.
I do. I have I'd like to offer resolution 2023-522. This is appoint part-time groundskeeper 1 in the Parks Department, Angel Jesus Flores Diego, the hourly rate of $21 per hour, retroactive to April 10th, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
523 is amend resolution 2023-236, to appoint members of the Nature Preserve Committee for 2023. Let it be resolved that Alan Bennett Jr. is hereby added as a member to the Nature Preserve Committee for the calendar year of 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
I'd like to offer resolution 2023-524. This is the East Hampton Historical Farm Museum Management Plan authorization. Whereas a public hearing was held by the town board, the town of East Hampton, on April 6, 2023, regarding the proposed East Hampton Historical Farm Museum Management Plan located at 135 North Main Street, East Hampton. The draft is East Hampton Historical Farm Museum Management Plan was made available on the town clerk. Town board has considered any and all comments of all persons regarding the management plan, both submitted and in writing. The adoption of the management plan is a type 2 action under secret, and then resolve that the East Hampton Historical Farm Museum Management Plan dated 3/6/23 is hereby adopted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
And I have resolution 2023-525, and this is to authorize the supervisor to execute a contract with the DEC for electrical vehicle charging stations. And whereas the town desires to accept an agreement from the DEC for the term of June 1st, 2020 through May 31st, 2024, and whereas this agreement will provide grant funding in the amount of $250,000, and the grant will be used towards funding the installation of electric vehicle charging stations at Town Hall and other locations, which was approved in the capital project in 2022, resolved that the supervisor is retroactively authorized and directed to enter into a grant contract with the DEC for the period ending May 31st, 2024.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 2023-526 is to authorize emergency work at Inlet Seafood Property LLC for the repair of bulkhead, whereas the town owns bottomland of Lake Montauk, where the same adjoins the Inlet Seafood property. Let's see, due to recent storms, part of the existing bulkhead was deteriorated, and there's immediate repair need for the bulkhead by the use of steel sheathing to anchor the existing tiebacks to prevent further damage. Resolved, town board hereby authorizes emergency repair work to be completed on the bulkhead located within the town-owned underwater land.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
I have resolution 2023-527, and that is to authorize a payment of $300 to Frank Vespi for the filming of the East Hampton Town Arts Council's Creative Networking Night for LTV.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
528 is to authorize payment of $63.59 to Louise Bergeson, who picked up the snacks for the moviegoers that attended the town's Anti-Bias Task Force Committee's sponsored film at the East Hampton Library on Sunday, March 19th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
Resolution 529 is to approve publications for Drug Take Back Day, the newspaper effort. This authorizes 2 quarter-page newspaper ads, one in English and one in Spanish, to be published in the April 20th edition of the East Hampton Press, Sag Harbor Express, and East Hampton Star from the Youth Task Force budget account in an amount not to exceed $1,804.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
I'd like to offer resolution 2023-530 as a budget modification for the highway department for needed road work and request of the highway superintendent, where we're increasing the revenue for services and other government in the amount of $120,746, pave our potholes in the amount of $124,388, and then we're increasing our expenditure line for road surfacing materials in the amount of $245,134.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
And I have Resolution 2023-531. This is to prohibit hunting of wild turkeys on town park lands on Memorial Day weekend. And this is whereas Chapter 91, restricts the issuance of licenses and additional regulations. Paragraph A provides in part that as a result of the town board's adoption of local law number 6 of 2023, that in addition to any restriction on the issuance of licenses set forth where herein the town board may, from time to time by resolution, adoption of which shall be duly published in the official newspaper of the town of East Hampton, further prohibit, restrict, and/or limit hunting on any town park land set forth in Schedule 1 through 5, inclusive of this chapters. And whereas the town board, while not prohibiting the hunting of wild turkeys, believes it is appropriate to restrict the hunting of wild turkeys on town parklands during the Memorial Day weekend from and including the Thursday before, through and including Memorial Day of each year. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby prohibits wild turkey hunting on all town parklands during the Memorial Day weekend each year, such prohibition to commence on the Thursday before Memorial Day weekend and to continue to and including Memorial Day each year. And be it further resolved, the town clerk shall publish the attached notice of adoption of this resolution in the April 20th, 23 edition of the East Hampton Star.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 532 is to authorize payment of Wainscot Hardware past due invoice, and that is in the amount of $13.29.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried. That concludes our agenda for today. Are there any other matters to bring before the board?
I'd like to make a motion to go into exec session to discuss the airport personnel in consultation with attorney on 2 matters.
Second, I apologize.
And do we have anything else to discuss?
Okay.
That's it. We have
Okay.
a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed, carried. Thank you, Jason. Stay safe, be well, everyone.
All right. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.